Shalom, shalom. I'd like to start off by giving all praises, all honor, and glory to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, the bonus to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Citations to the brothers out there to the four corners of the earth, teaching the truth and sincerity. And I just wanted to do a quick lesson on James P. Beckwourth. All right. It's a little quick story in this book I'm reading called The Black Indians, A Hidden Heritage by William Loren Katz. And I wanted to just go into this a quick scripture and a story about this man named James P. Beckwourth on page 120. You know, because Jake doesn't understand that your seed is after you are who you are from your father's seed. Now let's get that in the scripture real quick. Numbers 1:18. It says, "And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families, by the house of their fathers, according to the number of their names, from 20 years old and upward by their poll." All right. So the pedigrees, your lineage is after your father. You come from your father's seed. Contrary to popular belief, you do not come from your mother's seed. All right. Now, let's get into this story a little bit, right? It says, starting at page 120, black trappers tried mightily to build bridges of understanding with Native Americans, sometimes cemented with the bonds of marriage. James P. Beckwourth also married Indian women, sometimes in dizzying rapid succession, but with his flaming temper and love of battle, he kept burning his bridges down. Beckwourth became a chieftain of both Crow and Blackfoot Indian nations, so he enjoyed many supporters and admirers. Beckwourth also emerges from the fur trade's early history as the greatest Indian fighter of his generation. This was an age when his competitors for this honor were Daniel Boone, Davy Crockett, Jim Bridger, and Kit Carson. It is difficult to imagine that this famed frontiersman, scout, and explorer had faded from the story of an Old West, but fade he did. In skill, accomplishment, and violence, he matched men whose deeds have become part of the glorious frontier heritage. But when Universal, International, and Hollywood produced the horse opera Tomahawk, it cast white actor Jack Oakey as Jim Beckwourth. Generations of young people never learned that this tough pioneer fur trapper was a black man. So, just because it says that a black man, does that make him a so-called Negro? Does that make him a so-called Native American? Let's see. Let's continue on. It says, next chapter is page 122. It says, Beckwourth was born around 1798 to a black slave. Okay. And her white master. Oh, let's pause right there. Reread that again. Beckwourth was born around 1798 to a black slave and her white master. Now, this guy, as you've seen that I have on the screen, this is James P. Beckwourth. To some people, he would look like what? You'd be like, oh, he's a black man. He's a Negro. He's this, he's that. But when you read this little bio on him, it says that his mother was a Negro woman, but his father was a damn devil, a so-called white man, an Edomite. So what does that make him? As I read in Numbers 1:18, he would be an Edomite because you come from the seed of your fathers, not what the outside you look like does not make you who you are. It's not by your color. All right, that was started by Johannes Bloomberg or Johannes Bloombeck. He the one that created how you look. I mean, your race from your color. And that's bullshit, because we were scattered out through the four corners of earth. So we look like we're under every nation. So we look like all type of people, You got people stepping from if you seen Blake Griffin's son, he looks like a straight Edomite, but he's an Israelite. Because Blake Griffin's father is a Levite. So his son will be a so-called a Haitian, which are the Levites, but his son looks like a straight Edomite. Cause what? He took on his mother's characteristics, Now, same with this guy that you see on the screen, he must have took on what? His mother's characteristics, Because yeah, it shows he's a dark-skinned man, but he's an Edomite. And this is what this is a big stumbling block to Jake, and they're getting confused at, because they're thinking everyone with dark skin is a so-called Negro. Or everyone with a dark skin, what they say is, oh, he's a so-called black man. That's not true. That's not true. They cannot get the simple fact that your nationality is determined by what your father is. All right, not your mother. And they said they did say that the artist, like they do as usual, because he was a great man, they changed his image from a dark image to a white image. But in reality, he's a white man. He's a so-called white man with dark skin. That's all. All right. So let's go into this parable. Because it was told it would be like this. Matthew 13:24. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man which is sowed good seed in the field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. And an enemy that sowed tares among the wheat is a so-called white man. All right. So this guy that I'm speaking on, James P. Beckwourth, he's example of a tare. All right. So it says, but while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow seed in thy field? Salah, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? For when is then have it tares? He said unto them, an enemy have done this. The servants said unto him, wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? So the servant was like, well, should we go gather them up? But this is what he says, right? It says, but he said, nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. All right. So when you look at this exact picture, the wheat and the tares look just alike. So not knowing, since the enemy have done this, he knew that some of the characteristics of the enemies, they will still take on some of the features of their mother. So he said, you know what? Don't gather them, because you're going to end up gathering the wheats with the tares, because they look just alike. And that's why the thing that you have going on now, that's why if you have the thing that's going on now, is you gotta judge by the spirit. It's not by the skin complexion. All right, and the wheat is who? The Israelites. It says, all right, verse 30 says, let both grow together until the harvest. And in that time, the harvest, I will say, the reapers, gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in the bundles and burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. Another, no, oh yeah, that's that for that right there, right? So the angels are the reapers. They know the difference between the wheat and the tares. It's you simple-minded jakes that doesn't know the difference between the wheat and the tares, and you don't know that you are who you are after your father. When we tell you all the times when you hear us speaking on the street of different brothers, we tell you that you are what you are after your father. You come from your father's seed, But you want to rather listen to the so-called white man. Everyone with a dark complexion is not an Israelite. Not a Negro. Not a Negro, not a so-called Negro, not a so-called Native American, Haitian, the rest of the respectable tribes on down, It's only if you come by the seed of your father. And I just showed a clear example with this tear that I started out in the beginning of this lesson with. Alright, so what is he gonna do with these the tares? He's gonna gather the tares first, like it says, and bind them in bundles, and bind them in bundles to burn them. But he's gonna gather the wheat into his barn. Because there's no need for no tares. No, they're heathens. They're not Israelites. All right, so this about sums it up with the wheat and the tares. I just wanted to do a quick lesson to show you that, it's not about your skin complexion, It's about your lineage, who you come from, which is of your father. And that's who, and of that line, and that's who you make, and that's who you'll make of. And clearly, this guy right here is an Edomite. There's more in the bio, that I could have read, but I made the point, and just certain stuff that I was reading that it said he was doing, it was just like, yeah, this guy sounds like a Edomite. So yeah, it's not about of color at all. So there you have it, Israel. This guy is a tear. He's what you call so-called black Edomite. All right. Shalom.